Manhattan, New York. Sterling Financial Tower. Emma Brooks never imagined that a desperate lie in a crowded elevator would flip her world upside down. "Sorry, I have to take this." She pretended her phone was buzzing, pressing random buttons. "Hey, sweetheart. Yes, I know our engagement is still under wraps, but..." The elevator stopped on the 47th floor. The doors slid open, revealing him. Ryan Sterling, the most powerful man on Wall Street. CEO of Sterling Financial Group, the largest investment empire in North America, and apparently, according to the conversation she just fabricated, her secret fiancé. His eyes, deep blue like midnight over Central Park, locked onto hers. Emma felt her breath catch. Oh no, oh no, oh no. "Emma!" His voice was exactly what she'd imagined from Forbes interviews. Rich, commanding, with that confident tone that made billion-dollar deals sound like casual conversation. What a pleasant surprise. The 5 other people in the elevator, including her demanding boss, Catherine Pierce, and that arrogant Princeton graduate who'd been pestering her for weeks, suddenly went dead silent. The kind of silence that happens when legends step into reality. "Ryan," Emma's voice squeaked like a rusty gate. She cleared her throat, channeling every confident woman she'd ever admired. "I was just telling someone about our..." She gestured weakly at her phone, hoping he'd either play along or pretend he hadn't heard her ridiculous fabrication. Ryan Sterling stepped into the elevator. 6'2" of tailored excellence in a Navy Armani suit that probably cost more than her car. His presence commanded the small space like gravity itself. He glanced at her phone, still pressed to her ear, then at her face, burning brighter than Times Square neon. Then, incredibly, his lips curved into the faintest smile. "Our engagement," he said smoothly, his voice carrying that same authority he used to announce major acquisitions. "Of course, darling. We should definitely discuss when to make it public." The elevator could have plummeted 20 floors, and Emma wouldn't have felt it. Her mind had completely flatlined. Catherine Pierce's surgically enhanced face went blank. "You're engaged? To Ryan Sterling?" "Indeed," Ryan said, his gaze never wavering from Emma's. Something flickered in those blue depths. Curiosity? Intrigue? A spark that made her pulse race in ways that had nothing to do with panic. "Though we've been keeping it private, you know how it is in high-profile situations." High-profile situations. Emma almost burst into hysterical laughter. Her profile included a tiny apartment in Brooklyn, crushing student debt, and a social calendar dominated by streaming services and delivery apps. "How long?" Catherine's voice had climbed several notes higher. Ryan tilted his head, studying Emma like she was an intriguing market analysis. "How long has it been, beautiful?" The endearment flowed from his lips like silk. Emma's legs turned to jelly. 8 months, she stammered, then immediately panicked. Too long? Too brief? What was the standard timeline for fake billionaire engagements? 8 wonderful months, Ryan confirmed, stepping closer. Close enough that she caught his scent, something sophisticated and masculine that made her want to melt into him like chocolate in summer. The elevator chimed. 49th floor. "This is where I get off," Ryan said. He looked at Emma once more, and she definitely saw challenge dancing in his eyes. "Dinner tonight, 8 sharp at Daniel. We have arrangements to finalize." Before she could respond, he leaned down and brushed his lips against her temple. It was proper, professional for an elevator full of witnesses. It was also the most electrifying moment of her entire existence. "Until tonight, my love," he whispered against her skin. Then he vanished. The elevator doors sealed shut, leaving Emma staring at polished metal and her own reflection, which resembled a startled woodland creature. "Sweet mercy," breathed Marcus, the Princeton graduate. "You're engaged to Ryan Sterling." Catherine was frantically tapping her phone. This is incredible. Do you understand what this means for our firm? Our connection to Sterling Financial?" "I need oxygen," Emma said weakly. She'd just lied her way into a fake engagement with the most influential man in America. A man she'd never actually met before today. A man who, impossibly, had decided to play along with her absurd charade. A man who'd just invited her to dinner. Daniel. 8 sharp. Emma studied her reflection in the elevator doors again. Her auburn hair was escaping its neat twist. Her makeup was slightly smudged. And her department store suit looked like it had survived a natural disaster. She was in serious trouble. But as the elevator continued downward, she couldn't suppress the grin spreading across her face, because Ryan Sterling, the Ryan Sterling, had looked at her like she mattered, like she was worth the game, like maybe, just maybe, this insane lie could become something genuine. Daniel. 8 sharp. She had 7 hours to figure out how to survive dinner with a billionaire who believed she was his bride-to-be. Bring it on, Mr. Sterling. Manhattan, New York. Emma's Brooklyn apartment, 7 hours and 37 minutes until dinner with Ryan Sterling. Emma stared at her closet like it might magically produce couture gowns. It didn't. Think, Emma, think, she muttered, pulling out her one decent black dress. The same one she'd worn to her college graduation, her job interviews, and her cousin's wedding. What does a fake fiancé to a billionaire wear to Daniel? Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Ms. Brooks, Mr. Sterling has arranged for a stylist to visit your apartment at 4 p.m. Please be available. Margaret Chen, executive assistant. Emma blinked at the screen, then read it again. Then sat down hard on her bed. He'd sent a stylist to her apartment in Brooklyn. This was either the most thoughtful gesture ever, or Ryan Sterling was about to discover that his fiancée lived in a 500-square-foot studio with furniture from IKEA and a refrigerator held together by duct tape. Another buzz. The car will collect you at 7:30 p.m. Address confirmed. MC. Car. Of course there was a car. Emma looked around her apartment with fresh eyes. The Murphy bed she'd folded up this morning. The tiny kitchenette where she made ramen at 2 a.m. The single window that faced a brick wall. What had she gotten herself into? 4 p.m. sharp. The knock came precisely on time. Emma opened the door to find a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of Vogue. Silver hair in a perfect chignon, wearing all black, carrying what appeared to be a small department store in garment bags. Emma Brooks? The woman's voice carried a slight French accent. I am Isabelle Laurent. Mr. Sterling has requested my services. Come in, Emma said, then immediately regretted it as Isabelle's keen eyes swept the apartment. To her credit, the stylist didn't even blink. Charming space, very authentic Brooklyn. Now, let us see what we're working with. For the next 2 hours, Emma's apartment transformed into a high-end boutique. Isabelle produced dresses Emma had only seen in magazines, jewelry that sparkled like captured starlight, and shoes that probably cost more than her monthly salary. Mr. Sterling mentioned you prefer understated elegance, Isabelle said, holding up a midnight blue silk dress that seemed to shimmer with its own light. This Valentino should be perfect. He said that? Emma touched the fabric reverently. It felt like water between her fingers. He was quite specific about your style preferences. Isabel's smile was knowing. He also mentioned you have beautiful eyes. This color will make them absolutely luminous. Emma felt heat creep up her neck. Ryan Sterling had told his stylist she had beautiful eyes. When had he even looked long enough to notice? How long have you worked for Mr. Sterling? Emma asked as Isabelle began laying out accessories. 3 years, but I have never been asked to style his personal companion. Isabelle paused, studying Emma with professional interest. You must be very special, ma chérie. Ryan Sterling does not do relationships. He does business. The implications of that statement hit Emma like a freight train. If Ryan Sterling didn't do relationships, why had he played along with her lie? What was his angle? Try this, Isabelle said, handing her the dress. And do not overthink, yes? Some things are meant to unfold naturally. 7:25 p.m., outside Emma's building. Emma stood on the sidewalk feeling like an imposter in designer clothing. The Valentino fit her like it had been made for her body specifically. The sapphire earrings, borrowed, Isabel had assured her, caught the streetlight like fallen stars. Her hair had been transformed into soft waves that made her look sophisticated instead of frazzled. A black car glided to the curb. Not a limo. Too obvious. A sleek sedan that probably cost more than most people's houses. The driver got out and opened the rear door. "Ms. Brooks?" Emma took a deep breath and slid into leather seats that felt like butter. The interior was all mahogany and discretion, with a privacy screen that was thankfully down. She wasn't alone. Ryan Sterling sat in the far corner, and seeing him in the intimate space of the car made Emma's mouth go dry. He'd changed from his business suit into a perfectly tailored tuxedo that made him look like he belonged on red carpets and magazine covers. "You look stunning," he said simply, and the sincerity in his voice made her stomach flutter. "Thank you for the stylist. And the dress." "Everything." Emma gestured vaguely at herself. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." Ryan's voice was matter-of-fact. "If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right." The car pulled into Manhattan traffic, and Emma finally found the courage to ask the question that had been burning in her mind all day. Why? Ryan turned to look at her fully. In the dim light of the car, his blue eyes seemed even more intense. "Why what? Why did you play along? In the elevator, I mean. You could have embarrassed me in front of everyone. Instead, you..." She trailed off, not quite sure how to finish. Ryan was quiet for a long moment, watching the city lights stream past the window. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. "Do you know what my life is like, Emma?" The use of her first name without the endearments from the elevator felt intimate in a way that made her breath catch. Board meetings, acquisitions, quarterly reports. People who want things from me. People who see dollar signs when they look at me. He turned back to her. "In that elevator, for 30 seconds, someone looked at me and saw possibility. Not profit, just possibility." Emma felt something shift in her chest. "So this is what exactly? A social experiment?" "Maybe." Ryan's smile was enigmatic. "Or maybe I'm curious to see what happens when Emma Brooks has dinner with Ryan Sterling. No lies between them." The car slowed, and Emma saw they were pulling up to one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants. Valets were already approaching, photographers were lurking across the street, and through the window she could see other impeccably dressed diners. Panic fluttered in her chest. "Ryan, I don't know if I can..." His hand covered hers, warm and steady. "Yes, you can. You convinced an elevator full of people that you were engaged to me with 30 seconds of improvisation. You can handle dinner." The valet opened Emma's door, and suddenly she was stepping onto the sidewalk, camera flashes popping like tiny supernovas. Ryan appeared at her side, his hand settling protectively on the small of her back. "Smile," he murmured in her ear. "And remember, tonight we're just Emma and Ryan. Everything else is noise." As they walked toward the restaurant entrance, Emma caught their reflection in the glass doors. They looked like they belonged together. Like this was natural instead of the most surreal experience of her life. Maybe, just maybe, she could pull this off. But as the maitre d' led them to what was obviously the best table in the house, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was walking into something much bigger than a simple dinner. She was walking into a world where every move was calculated, every smile was currency, and every word could make or break fortunes. The question was, did she have what it took to play in Ryan Sterling's league? Only one way to find out. Daniel Restaurant, Manhattan, private dining room. The private dining room at Daniel was a masterpiece of understated luxury. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over cream silk wallpaper. Fresh orchids adorned every surface, and the table was set with china so delicate Emma was afraid to breathe on it. "Relax," Ryan said, noticing her wide-eyed stare. "It's just dinner." "Just dinner," Emma repeated, watching a waiter pour wine that probably cost more than her monthly grocery budget. "Right. Just dinner with New York's most eligible bachelor in a restaurant where reservations are booked 6 months out." Ryan's laugh was rich and genuine. Most eligible bachelor? According to who? Forbes, Fortune, Manhattan Magazine. Should I keep going? Emma took a sip of wine and immediately understood why people paid ridiculous amounts for good vintage. Also, your Wikipedia page is very thorough. You looked me up? Something flickered in his eyes, amusement mixed with something else she couldn't identify. After our elevator encounter, I figured I should know basic facts about my fake fiancé. Like how you built Sterling Financial from a startup to a multi-billion-dollar empire in 8 years. How you graduated summa cum laude from Harvard Business School at 24. How you've never been engaged, barely date, and the tabloids call you the Ice King of Wall Street. Ryan set down his wine glass. Ice King? Their words, not mine. Emma felt heat creep up her neck. Though I can see where they get it. You have this way of looking at people like you're calculating their net worth. And how am I looking at you? The question hung between them like a challenge. Emma met his gaze, surprised by her own boldness. Like you're trying to figure out if I'm going to run screaming from this restaurant or actually make it through dessert. Are you going to run screaming? The night is young. Ryan's smile transformed his entire face. Gone was the controlled CEO mask, replaced by something warm and genuinely amused. I like you, Emma Brooks. Even though I ambushed you in an elevator with a fake engagement. Especially because of that. He leaned forward slightly. Do you know how long it's been since someone surprised me? Before Emma could answer, the restaurant's owner, Daniel Boulud himself, appeared at their table. Mr. Sterling, what a pleasure. And this must be the lovely Emma we've heard so much about. Emma's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Heard about? The kitchen is abuzz with excitement, Daniel continued, oblivious to Emma's panic. An engagement announcement from Manhattan's most confirmed bachelor? Magnifique. Ryan's expression didn't change, but Emma caught the slight tightening around his eyes. News travels fast. Indeed. I took the liberty of sending champagne to celebrate. Daniel beamed. The Dom Perignon 1996, naturally. As he glided away, Emma stared at Ryan. The kitchen knows? How do they? Her eyes widened. Oh no, the elevator people. They talked. Undoubtedly. Ryan's voice was calm, but Emma detected tension beneath the surface. Catherine Pierce has one of the biggest mouths in Manhattan. By now, half of Wall Street knows we're supposedly engaged. Emma set down her fork, appetite vanishing. I am so sorry. I never meant for this to spiral out of control. I can fix this. I'll call everyone, explain it was a misunderstanding. No. The single word stopped her mid-sentence. No, she repeated. Ryan studied her for a long moment. What if we didn't fix it? What do you mean? What if we let people believe we're engaged for a while? Emma stared at him like he'd suggested they rob a bank. Are you insane? This is your reputation we're talking about. Your business empire. You can't just pretend to be engaged to some random woman from Brooklyn. You're not random. Ryan's voice was matter-of-fact. You work for Pearson Associates, one of the top marketing firms in the city. You have a master's degree from Columbia. You speak 3 languages and volunteer at literacy programs on weekends. Emma's mouth fell open. How do you know all that? I had my team run a background check after the elevator. You had me investigated? Emma's voice rose several octaves, causing nearby diners to glance over. Standard procedure. Ryan seemed genuinely puzzled by her reaction. I investigate everyone I do business with. This isn't business, Ryan. This is supposed to be dinner between 2 people getting to know each other. Isn't it? Ryan tilted his head. Business, I mean. You needed to escape an uncomfortable situation in that elevator. I provided a solution. Now I need something, and you could provide a solution for me. Emma felt something cold settle in her stomach. What do you need? Ryan was quiet for a moment, swirling wine in his glass. When he spoke, his voice was carefully neutral. My board of directors has been pressuring me to settle down. They think a married CEO appears more stable, more trustworthy to investors. There's a major acquisition coming up, the biggest in Sterling Financial's history. Having a fiancé could be advantageous. The fairy tale shattered like crystal hitting marble. So this is a business proposition, Emma said slowly. You want to hire me to be your fake fiancé. I want to propose a mutually beneficial arrangement. Ryan's tone had shifted back to CEO mode. Cool, professional, detached. You need to maintain the fiction we created to save face at your office. I need a fiancé to secure a business deal. We help each other. Emma stood up so abruptly her chair scraped against the floor. I need some air. She walked toward the ladies' room, her heels clicking on marble like a countdown timer. In the mirror, she looked like someone else. Elegant, sophisticated, worthy of dining with billionaires. But underneath the designer dress and borrowed jewelry, she was still Emma Brooks from Brooklyn. And Emma Brooks from Brooklyn did not sign contracts to be someone's fake girlfriend. When she returned to the table, Ryan was on his phone, speaking in rapid, clipped sentences about market projections and due diligence. The warm man who'd laughed at her Wikipedia comment was gone, replaced by the Ice King of Wall Street. He ended the call as she sat down. Sorry, crisis in Tokyo. Of course. Emma picked up her purse. Thank you for dinner and the dress, but I think this arrangement isn't going to work out. Emma, wait. Ryan's hand covered hers across the table. I handled that badly. No, you were perfectly clear. This is business for you. A convenient solution to a board problem. She pulled her hand away. I'm not interested in being anyone's business solution. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? Emma stood again. You investigated me, Ryan. You had a background check run before our first date. You're treating this like a merger negotiation. Ryan stood too, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked genuinely rattled. I don't know how to do this any other way. Something in his voice made Emma pause. Do what? This. He gestured between them. Whatever this is, I know how to acquire companies, manage portfolios, negotiate deals worth billions. I don't know how to have dinner with someone I actually want to know better, without calculating the risk-benefit analysis. The honesty in his admission hit her like a physical blow. This wasn't the Ice King talking. This was a man who'd been successful for so long he'd forgotten how to be anything else. Figure it out, Emma said softly. Because I'm not interested in being your convenient fiancé. But I might be interested in getting to know Ryan Sterling, the man, not the CEO. She walked toward the exit, her heart pounding. Behind her, she heard Ryan call her name, but she didn't turn around. In the restaurant's entrance, she paused. Through the glass doors, she could see photographers still waiting on the street. The valet was already bringing Ryan's car around. In 30 seconds, she'd be back in Brooklyn, and this entire surreal evening would become just another story she'd tell her friends. But as she stood there, watching the city bustle past, Emma realized she didn't want it to be just a story. She wanted to know who Ryan Sterling was when he wasn't calculating profit margins. She wanted to see if the man who defended her in an elevator was real, or if she'd imagined the warmth in his eyes. Her phone buzzed. I'm sorry, let me try again. Coffee tomorrow, somewhere normal. No background checks, no business propositions. Just coffee. Ryan. Emma stared at the text, then at the restaurant behind her. Through the windows, she could see Ryan standing by their table, phone in hand, watching the entrance. Their eyes met through the glass. He didn't smile, didn't wave. He just waited. Emma typed back, Joe's Coffee on 85th Street, 7 a.m., and Ryan, come alone. She walked out into the Manhattan night, designer heels clicking against sidewalk, feeling like she just won the first round of a very dangerous game. Behind her, Ryan Sterling watched her disappear into the crowd, and for the first time in years, wondered if he'd just made the smartest decision of his career, or the biggest mistake of his life. Upper West Side, Manhattan, Joe's Coffee. At 6:47 a.m., Emma sat in the back corner of Joe's Coffee, nursing her second cup and wondering if she'd completely lost her mind. The morning after Daniel restaurant felt like waking up from a fever dream. Had she really walked out on a billionaire? Had she really demanded he meet her at a neighborhood coffee shop that probably violated 17 health codes? The bell above the door chimed and Emma's breath caught. Ryan Sterling stepped inside looking completely out of place and absolutely perfect. Gone was the designer tuxedo, replaced by dark jeans, a gray cashmere sweater, and a leather jacket that made him look less like a CEO and more like a very expensive bad boy. Every woman in the coffee shop turned to stare. The barista, a college-aged girl with purple hair, nearly dropped the espresso machine. Even Mrs. Chen, who came here every morning for 30 years, looked up from her crossword puzzle. Ryan's eyes found Emma's and he smiled. Not the controlled CEO smile from last night, but something softer, more uncertain. He ordered black coffee from the starstruck barista and made his way to Emma's table, sliding into the mismatched chair across from her. "You came," Emma said, surprised by how relieved she felt. "You doubted I would? I figured you might send an assistant, or buy the building and have me evicted." Ryan laughed, the sound rich and genuine in the small space. "I considered both options, but then I realized I've never actually been in a normal coffee shop before." Emma blinked. Never. Private clubs, hotel restaurants, corporate dining rooms, but not... He gestured around the cramped space with its mismatched furniture and faded vintage posters. "This. Welcome to how the other 99% lives," Emma said, then immediately regretted the sarcasm. "Sorry, I'm not used to billionaires in my regular haunts. I deserved that." Ryan wrapped his hands around the chipped ceramic mug, looking strangely vulnerable. "Emma, about last night. You apologized already." "No, I texted an apology. There's a difference." He met her eyes. "I'm sorry I treated you like a business transaction. I'm sorry I had you investigated without asking. And I'm really sorry I made you feel like you were just a convenient solution to a problem." The sincerity in his voice made Emma's chest tight. "Thank you. I meant what I said, though. I don't know how to do this." Ryan's smile was self-deprecating. "I've been Ryan Sterling, CEO, for so long that I'm not sure who Ryan Sterling, the person, actually is anymore." Emma studied his face, the sharp jawline softened by morning stubble, the blue eyes that seemed less intense in natural light, the way his hair fell across his forehead without its usual perfect styling. "When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? Not because it was good for business or strategic or profitable, just because it made you happy?" Ryan was quiet for so long Emma wondered if she'd overstepped. Finally, he said, "I honestly can't remember." The admission hung between them like a confession. Emma felt something shift in her chest. Not pity exactly, but a recognition of loneliness that matched her own. "What about you?" Ryan asked. "When was the last time you took a risk? Real risk, not just telling white lies in elevators." Emma laughed, but it came out shaky. "You mean besides agreeing to have coffee with Manhattan's most powerful man? I moved to New York 5 years ago with $2,000 and a Columbia acceptance letter. Everyone told me I was crazy to leave Nebraska for a city that would eat me alive. But you did it anyway." "I did it anyway." Emma traced the rim of her coffee cup. "My parents still think I'm going through a phase. They keep asking when I'm coming home to marry Tommy Richardson and help run the family hardware store." "Tommy Richardson sounds like a catch," Ryan said with mock seriousness. "Two-time state champion in wrestling, owns 3 pickup trucks and makes excellent cornbread." Emma grinned. "My mother's dream son-in-law." "And you're not interested in cornbread and pickup trucks?" "I was engaged to Tommy for 6 months after college." Emma's smile faded. Nice guy, stable job, wanted the same things my family wanted. White picket fence, 2 kids, Sunday dinners at his parents' house for the next 40 years. "What happened?" "I realized I was suffocating." Emma met his eyes. "I broke up with him 3 weeks before the wedding. Biggest scandal Millfield, Nebraska has seen since the mayor embezzled money from the church fund." Ryan leaned back in his chair, studying her with new interest. "So you do understand complicated family expectations. Try explaining to your mother that you'd rather be poor and pursuing dreams in New York than comfortable and bored in Nebraska. Emma shook her head. She still sends me Tommy's Christmas cards. He married my high school friend Sarah. They have twin boys now. Any regrets? About Tommy? No. Emma paused. About disappointing my family? Every day. The honesty surprised her. She rarely talked about home, about the guilt that followed her like a shadow when she video called her parents from her tiny Brooklyn apartment while they sat in the house she'd grown up in, surrounded by everything familiar and safe that she'd walked away from. I understand that, Ryan said quietly. Different circumstances, same feeling. Your family disapproves of your choices too? Ryan's laugh was bitter. My father thinks I'm too soft. My mother thinks I work too much. My sister thinks I've forgotten how to be human. He paused. Turns out they might all be right. You have a sister? Megan. She's a pediatric surgeon in Boston, saves children's lives for a living, which makes my job feel pretty insignificant in comparison. Ryan's expression softened. She's the one who's been telling me to find someone who sees more in me than a bank account. Smart woman. She'd like you. Ryan smiled. She'd also probably lecture me about that background check. Speaking of which, Emma said, what exactly did your investigation turn up? I'm curious what my life looks like from a corporate security perspective. Ryan had the grace to look embarrassed. Standard stuff. Credit report, employment history, education records. No criminal background, no suspicious financial activity. You volunteer at the Literacy Center in Queens every Saturday morning. You send money to your parents every month even though you can barely afford it. Your biggest vice is buying books you don't have time to read. Emma stared at him. You know about the books? Amazon purchase history shows a pattern of literary fiction and business biographies, most bought after midnight. Ryan's smile was apologetic. I told you it was thorough. That's either really creepy or really impressive. Probably both. Ryan leaned forward. For what it's worth, everything I learned made me more interested, not less. Even the part where I got fired from my first job for accidentally sending an email complaining about my boss to my actual boss. Ryan's eyebrows rose. That wasn't in the report. That's because I listed my friend Jennifer as my reference for that job, and she covered for me. Emma grinned. Your investigators aren't as good as you think. Remind me to fire my security team. Or maybe, Emma said, you could try getting to know someone the old-fashioned way. You know, through actual conversation? Revolutionary concept. Ryan's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, then deliberately turned it face down. Sorry, crisis in London apparently. Do you need to take it? No. Ryan's voice was firm. For the next hour, Ryan Sterling, CEO, doesn't exist. It's just Ryan, guy who drinks coffee and asks terrible first date questions. Is this a first date? I don't know, is it? The question hung between them, weighted with possibility. Emma felt her heart speed up. I don't usually date guys who have me investigated. I don't usually have coffee in places that don't serve it in bone china. So we're both breaking new ground. Apparently. Ryan's smile was warm, genuine. Emma, can I ask you something and will you promise to give me an honest answer? Depends on the question. In the elevator yesterday when you made up that phone call about being engaged, was there anyone specific you were trying to avoid? Emma felt heat creep up her neck. You really want to know? I really want to know. Brad Morrison, Harvard MBA, thinks he's Wall Street's gift to women, has been asking me out for 3 months despite my repeated polite rejections. Emma sighed. He was in the elevator, looking at me like I was lunch, and I panicked. Ah. Ryan's expression darkened slightly. Brad Morrison from Pearson Associates? You know him? Our companies have done business. He's... Ryan paused, clearly choosing his words carefully. Persistent. That's a diplomatic way of putting it. Emma studied Ryan's face. Why do I get the feeling you don't like him? Let's just say his reputation with women precedes him. And you felt the need to protect me from him? Maybe. Ryan's voice was quiet. Or maybe I saw an opportunity to be someone's hero for 30 seconds instead of just their stock portfolio. The admission hit Emma like a physical blow. She reached across the table without thinking, covering his hand with hers. His skin was warm, slightly rough from what looked like guitar calluses. "You play?" she asked, tracing the calluses with her fingertip. Ryan looked down at their joined hands. "Used to. Haven't touched a guitar in years." "What happened?" "Life. Business school, building the company, 12-hour days turning into 14-hour days, turning into 16-hour days." He turned his hand palm up, catching her fingers. "What about you? Any hidden talents the background check missed?" "I paint. Badly, but enthusiastically." Emma felt slightly breathless at the contact. "Mostly landscapes from memory of home. My apartment looks like a Nebraska tourism brochure exploded." "I'd like to see that." "My terrible paintings?" "Your world." Ryan's thumb traced across her knuckles. "I've spent so much time in boardrooms and private clubs that I've forgotten what normal looks like." Emma's phone buzzing interrupted the moment. She glanced at the screen and groaned. "Catherine, my boss. She's probably calling about yesterday." "Answer it," Ryan said, but put it on speaker. "Ryan, trust me." Against her better judgment, Emma answered. "Hi, Catherine." "Emma, thank goodness. I've been trying to reach you all morning. The whole office is buzzing about your engagement to Ryan Sterling. I need you to come in immediately so we can discuss how to leverage this connection for the Morrison account." Emma's eyes widened. She looked at Ryan, who gestured for her to continue. "I'm actually having coffee with Ryan right now," Emma said carefully. "Perfect. Put him on the phone. I want to discuss partnership opportunities." Ryan leaned toward the phone. "Good morning, Catherine. This is Ryan." "Mr. Sterling, what an honor. I was just telling Emma how thrilled we are about your engagement. Pierce and Associates would love to discuss how we might work together on future projects." "I appreciate that, Catherine." Ryan's voice had taken on a subtle edge. "But I should mention that anyone who treats Emma as anything other than the talented professional she is will find Sterling Financial taking our business elsewhere. I trust that won't be an issue." Silence on the other end of the line. Then, "Of course not, Mr. Sterling. Emma is one of our most valued employees." "Excellent. Emma, why don't you take the morning off? I'm sure Catherine can handle things at the office." "Absolutely," Catherine said quickly. "Take all the time you need, Emma." Ryan ended the call and handed the phone back to Emma. "Your boss won't be a problem anymore." "Did you just threaten to pull your business from my company?" "I don't make threats. I make promises." Ryan's smile was sharp. "And I promise that anyone who doesn't treat you with respect will regret it." Emma stared at him. That was either really sweet or really terrifying. Can't it be both? Before Emma could answer, the coffee shop door chimed again. This time, a man in an expensive suit walked in, scanning the room until his eyes landed on their table. He approached with the confident stride of someone accustomed to getting what he wanted. "Ryan, there you are." The man, mid-50s, silver hair, smile that didn't reach his eyes, stopped at their table. "Margaret said you'd canceled all your morning meetings for a coffee date. I had to see this for myself." Ryan's entire demeanor changed, his shoulders tensing. "Richard, what are you doing here?" "Damage control." Richard's eyes shifted to Emma with obvious assessment. "And you must be the mysterious fiancé everyone's talking about." Emma felt like prey being circled by a predator. "I'm Emma Brooks. Richard Hawthorne, chairman of Sterling Financial's board of directors." He didn't offer his hand. "Ryan, we need to talk. Privately. Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of Emma." Richard's smile turned razor sharp. "Very well. The board is concerned about this sudden engagement announcement. We need assurance that your personal decisions won't impact the Morrison acquisition." "My personal life is exactly that. Personal. Not when it affects a $10 billion deal." Richard finally looked directly at Emma. "Ms. Brooks, what exactly do you do for a living?" "I work in marketing," Emma said, lifting her chin. "How convenient. And how long have you known Ryan?" Emma felt the trap closing around her. One wrong answer and this entire charade would collapse. We've been friends for a while. Friends. Richard's tone suggested he found this amusing. Ryan doesn't have friends, Ms. Brooks. He has assets, liabilities, and strategic partnerships. Which are you? Enough! Ryan's voice was ice cold. Richard, you're out of line. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like a young woman who saw an opportunity and took it. Richard leaned closer to Emma. What's your angle, sweetheart? Marriage settlement? Insider trading information? Or are you just hoping to ride the Sterling name to better opportunities? Emma felt blood rush to her face, but before she could respond, Ryan stood so abruptly his chair scraped against the floor. Get out. His voice was quiet, deadly. Ryan, get out of this coffee shop, Richard. Now. Before I forget that you're on my board and remember that I could buy and sell you 3 times over before lunch. Richard's composure cracked slightly. The board will hear about this. I'm counting on it. Ryan's smile was all teeth. And when they do, make sure you mention that I don't appreciate having my fiancé insulted. Some things are more important than business deals. After Richard left, the coffee shop felt charged with residual tension. Ryan sat back down, running his hands through his hair. I'm sorry, he said finally. That was illuminating, Emma finished. Is that what your world is always like? People questioning motives and looking for angles? Usually. Ryan met her eyes. Is it enough to scare you away? Emma thought about it. Really thought about it. The investigation, the paparazzi, the board members who treated her like a gold digger, the impossible pressure of dating someone whose every move made headlines. Then she thought about Ryan's laugh when she'd mentioned his Wikipedia page, the way he'd defended her to Catherine. How he'd looked lost when admitting he didn't remember the last time he'd done something just for happiness. No, she said finally, but I have conditions. Name them. No more background checks without permission. No more business propositions disguised as romantic gestures. And if we're going to do this, whatever this is, we do it honestly. No fake engagement, no strategic partnerships. Just 2 people getting to know each other. Ryan was quiet for a long moment. The board pressure is real, Emma. The Morrison acquisition could make or break Sterling Financial's future. Then handle it like the brilliant CEO you are. But don't use me as a prop in your business theater. And if I want to see you again, not for business, not for the board, but because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that elevator. Emma's heart stuttered. Then ask me properly. Ryan stood, extending his hand. Emma Brooks, would you like to go for a walk in Central Park with me? No photographers, no board members, no business deals. Just us. Emma looked at his outstretched hand, then at his face. Open, hopeful, more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. Ryan Sterling, she said, taking his hand. I thought you'd never ask. As they walked out of Joe's coffee together, Emma caught their reflection in the window. They looked like any other couple on a Sunday morning. Casual, comfortable, real. Maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what they could become. Central Park, Manhattan. 3 weeks later. Emma had never imagined that dating a billionaire would involve so much sneaking around. Duck, Ryan whispered, pulling her behind a hot dog cart as a photographer with a telephoto lens emerged from behind the Alice in Wonderland statue. This is ridiculous, Emma laughed, crouched next to him while the vendor gave them curious looks. We're grown adults hiding behind processed meat. Best processed meat in the city, Ryan grinned, pulling out his wallet. 2 dogs, extra mustard, he told the vendor, who was clearly trying to figure out why Manhattan's most famous CEO was hiding behind his cart. For 3 weeks, they'd been playing an elaborate game of cat and mouse with the media. Coffee dates in obscure Brooklyn cafes, late-night walks through empty museums, picnics in hidden corners of Central Park. Emma had learned that Ryan knew every secret passage and private entrance in Manhattan, information that apparently came with the billionaire territory. You know, Emma said, accepting her hot dog, most people just go to restaurants for dates. Most people don't have photographers following them, hoping to catch them picking their nose. Ryan took a bite of his hot dog and groaned appreciatively. Though I have to admit, this beats the molecular gastronomy place my publicist wanted us to be seen at. Your publicist knows about us? Margaret Chen knows everything. It's terrifying and incredibly useful. Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and sighed. Speaking of Margaret, she wants to know if you'll attend the Sterling Foundation Gala next weekend. Emma nearly choked on her hot dog. The what now? Annual charity fundraiser. Very exclusive, very public. Very much the kind of event where my supposed fiancé would be expected to appear. Ryan's voice was carefully neutral. But if you're not ready for that level of exposure, I understand. Emma studied his face. Over the past 3 weeks, she'd gotten good at reading Ryan Sterling's micro-expressions. Right now, he was trying to look casual while actually being terrified she'd say no. How exclusive are we talking? Senators, CEOs, old money families, a few celebrities for publicity. Ryan shrugged like it was nothing. Maybe 500 people, maximum media coverage, probably end up on the society pages of every major publication. So basically, swimming with sharks while wearing a meat suit. That's actually a pretty accurate description. Emma was quiet for a moment, watching families with children feed ducks in the pond. Normal people living normal lives without worrying about photographers or board members or society galas. Emma. Ryan's voice was soft. You don't have to decide right now. What would I even wear to something like that? Whatever you want. Though Isabel mentioned she'd be happy to help again. And your family will be there? Ryan's expression shifted slightly. My parents, yes. Megan's flying in from Boston. A few cousins, some aunts and uncles. He paused. They're curious about you. Curious or skeptical? Both, probably. Ryan's honesty was one of the things Emma had come to appreciate most about him. My mother has very specific ideas about appropriate partners for her son. My father judges everyone by their net worth and family connections. Megan will probably interrogate you about your intentions. Sounds delightful. We could always stage a dramatic breakup before the gala, Ryan suggested with mock seriousness. I could be devastated. You could run away to Paris. Very romantic, very tragic. Tempting. Emma bumped his shoulder with hers. But I'm not much of a runner. Does that mean... It means I'll go to your fancy gala and try not to embarrass you in front of Manhattan's elite. Emma grinned at his relieved expression. But I have conditions. More conditions? You're worse than my lawyers. First, no coaching me on what to say or how to act. If your family is going to meet me, they're going to meet the real me. Agreed. What else? Second, if anyone asks about our engagement timeline or wedding plans, we tell them we're taking things slow and haven't set a date. That's reasonable. And third, Emma turned to face him fully, we need to talk about what happens after the gala. Because Ryan, this has been amazing, but we can't keep sneaking around forever. Eventually, we're going to have to decide what we actually are. Ryan was quiet for a long moment, his hand finding hers on the bench between them. What do you want us to be? I want us to be real. The words came out more intensely than Emma had intended. Not a fake engagement, not a business arrangement, not a convenient solution to board pressure. Real. Even if real means dealing with photographers and board members and galas for the rest of your life? Even if real means you have to trust me enough to let me into your actual world, not just the sanitized version you've been showing me. Ryan's thumb traced circles on her palm. You want to see the real Ryan Sterling world? I want to see all of it. The good, the bad, and the probably ugly. It might be uglier than you think. Try me. Ryan studied her face for a long moment, then pulled out his phone. Margaret, it's Ryan. Clear my schedule for the rest of the day. Yes, all of it. Because I'm bringing Emma to the office, and she needs to see what she's potentially signing up for. He ended the call and looked at Emma. Still sure about this? Absolutely terrified and completely sure. Good, because we're about to walk into the lion's den. Sterling Financial Tower, 52nd floor. The elevator ride to Ryan's office felt different this time. Instead of the nervous energy of their first meeting, Emma felt a strange calm. She was wearing jeans and a sweater, her normal weekend clothes, and she was about to enter Ryan's domain as herself, not as some carefully constructed version designed to fit his world. "Fair warning," Ryan said as the elevator climbed. "My office is intense." The doors opened directly into a reception area that looked like something from a luxury hotel. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Manhattan. The furniture was all clean lines and expensive materials, and everything was so perfectly arranged it looked like a magazine spread. "Mr. Sterling?" Margaret Chen appeared immediately, looking flawless in a navy suit despite it being Saturday afternoon. "Ms. Brooks, welcome to Sterling Financial." "Thank you for accommodating the impromptu visit," Emma said. "Mr. Sterling rarely brings personal guests to the office," Margaret replied with a slight smile. "It's quite exciting, actually." Ryan's office was beyond impressive. It was intimidating. The space was larger than Emma's entire apartment, with a conference table that could seat 20, a private bathroom, and what appeared to be a full bar hidden behind sleek cabinetry. The walls were covered with awards, framed magazine covers featuring Ryan, and photographs of him with presidents, foreign dignitaries, and celebrities. "This is where the magic happens," Ryan said, gesturing around the space. Emma walked to the windows, looking out over the city spread below. From this height, people looked like ants, cars like toys. It was beautiful and isolating at the same time. "How do you concentrate with this view?" "You get used to it." Ryan joined her at the window. "Though I'll admit I spend more time looking at spreadsheets than scenery." A knock on the door interrupted them. Margaret entered with a tablet in hand and an expression that suggested crisis management. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation," Margaret said. "The Morrison acquisition just hit a snag. Their board is concerned about the recent media attention surrounding your personal life and wants reassurance about Sterling Financial's stability." Ryan's entire demeanor changed, his relaxed weekend persona evaporating into CEO mode. "What kind of reassurance?" "A meeting, Monday morning, with their full board." Margaret's expression was grim. "They're specifically asking about the engagement rumors and whether your recent relationship will impact your focus on the deal." Emma felt her stomach drop. "This is about me. This is about business," Ryan said firmly, but Emma caught the tension in his voice. "Mr. Sterling?" Margaret continued carefully. "There's more. Richard Hawthorne has been making calls. He's suggesting to Morrison's board that your engagement is a publicity stunt designed to soften your image for the acquisition." "He's what?" Ryan's voice was dangerously quiet. "He's positioning himself as the voice of reason, suggesting that the board should consider his leadership if this deal falls through." Emma watched Ryan process this information, seeing the moment when her presence in his life shifted from personal happiness to professional liability. The transformation was subtle, but unmistakable. His shoulders straightened, his expression hardened, and suddenly she felt like an outsider looking in. "Set up the meeting," Ryan said finally, "and get our legal team on a conference call in an hour. I want to know exactly what Hawthorne can and can't do." "Of course." Margaret hesitated. "Sir, there's one more thing. Page 6 is running a story Monday morning about the engagement. They have photos of you and Ms. Brooks from last weekend." Emma's blood went cold. "What kind of photos?" Margaret looked uncomfortable. "You and Mr. Sterling outside the bookstore in Soho. The headline is Sterling's Secret Romance, Billionaire's Mystery Fiancé Revealed." "They identified me?" "Emma Brooks, marketing executive at Pearson Associates, Columbia graduate, originally from Nebraska." Margaret recited the facts like a grocery list. "They have quotes from unnamed sources about your background, your relationship timeline, and speculation about the engagement." Emma sank into one of Ryan's leather chairs, feeling overwhelmed. "My parents are going to see this." "Emma," Ryan started toward her. "No, it's fine." Emma stood up quickly. "This is what I signed up for, right? Public scrutiny, media attention, having my entire life dissected by strangers. You didn't sign up for anything. This just happened. Did it? Emma looked around the office again, seeing it differently now. Or is this exactly what you expected when you decided to let people believe we were engaged? That's not fair, isn't it? Ryan, be honest. When Richard questioned the engagement in the coffee shop, when your board started pressuring you about the acquisition, did you think about how useful having a fiancé might be? Ryan was quiet for too long. I see. Emma's voice was steady despite the hurt flooding through her. Margaret, could I have a moment alone with Ryan? Of course. Margaret slipped out, closing the door behind her. Emma walked to Ryan's desk, running her fingers along the polished surface. This is beautiful. The whole office, really, very impressive. Emma, what I thought about the engagement and how I feel about you are two completely different things. Are they? She turned to face him. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like I'm about to become a liability to the biggest deal in your company's history. And I'm wondering if part of you is calculating whether I'm worth the risk. Of course you're worth the risk. How can you be sure? You've known me for 3 weeks, Ryan. 3 weeks versus a $10 billion acquisition that could define your company's future. Ryan crossed the room in 3 strides, taking her hands in his. Emma, listen to me. The Morrison deal matters, yes, but it doesn't matter more than this. More than us. How do I know that? How do I know that when push comes to shove, you won't choose Sterling Financial over me? Because I'm telling you. You're telling me from your office, surrounded by reminders of everything you've built, with your assistant waiting outside to manage the crisis I've created. Emma pulled her hands free. I need air. She walked to the windows again, looking out over the city. Somewhere down there was her real life, her tiny apartment, her normal job, her ordinary problems. Up here, everything was complicated by money and power and board meetings. What are you thinking? Ryan's voice was soft behind her. I'm thinking about my friend Jessica from college. She dated a politician once, a congressman from Ohio. Nice guy, really loved her, but his career always came first. Every decision they made was filtered through how it would look to voters, how it would affect his image. Emma turned to face Ryan. She lost herself trying to fit into his world. And when his advisors decided she was hurting his chances for re-election, he chose his career. I'm not him, aren't you? Ryan, you run a multi-billion-dollar company. You have thousands of employees depending on you, investors trusting you with their money, board members questioning every decision. When Richard Hawthorne forces you to choose between me and Sterling Financial's future, what are you going to do? Ryan was quiet for a long moment, and Emma could practically see him working through the scenarios, calculating options and outcomes. See? She said softly. You're already doing the math. I'm trying to figure out how to have both. What if you can't? What if it really comes down to a choice? Ryan walked to his desk, leaning against it with his arms crossed. In the late afternoon light streaming through the windows, he looked every inch the powerful CEO, commanding, strategic, slightly removed from ordinary concerns. 20 years ago, he said finally, my father lost everything in a bad investment. Our house, our savings, my college fund. I watched him become a shell of himself, watched my mother pretend everything was fine while working 3 jobs to keep us afloat. Ryan's voice was steady, but Emma heard the old pain underneath. I swore I would never be that vulnerable again. Never let anything or anyone compromise my ability to provide security. So Sterling Financial is your security blanket. Sterling Financial is my responsibility. To my employees, to my investors, to my family. Ryan met her eyes. But, Emma, for the first time in my life, I'm wondering if security is worth it if I'm too afraid to actually live. Emma felt something shift in her chest. What are you saying? I'm saying that 3 weeks ago I knew exactly who I was and what mattered. Now I'm standing in my office on a Saturday afternoon, looking at a woman who makes me laugh at hot dog carts and challenges me to be better than my worst instincts. And I'm realizing that maybe I've been asking the wrong questions. What questions should you be asking? Instead of, what's the risk? Maybe I should be asking, what's the opportunity? Instead of, how do I protect what I've built? Maybe I should be asking, what am I building toward? Ryan pushed off from his desk, walking toward her. Emma, I can't promise you that this will be easy. I can't promise that my world won't try to change you, or that board meetings won't interfere with dinner plans. But I can promise you that if it comes down to a choice between Sterling Financial and losing you, I'll find a third option. What if there isn't a third option? Ryan stopped in front of her, close enough that she could see the determination in his blue eyes. Then I'll create one, because that's what I do, Emma. I find solutions to impossible problems, and losing you feels pretty impossible right now. Emma searched his face, looking for any sign of calculation or strategic thinking. Instead, she saw vulnerability and hope, and something that looked like love. Ryan Sterling, she said softly, are you choosing me over your board? I'm choosing us over fear. His hands came up to frame her face. The question is, are you brave enough to let me? Before Emma could answer, Margaret's voice came through the intercom. Mr. Sterling, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have an urgent call from Morrison's CEO. He says it can't wait until Monday. Ryan's hands dropped, and Emma saw him shift back into business mode. Take a message. I'll call him back in an hour. Sir, he's threatening to walk away from the deal entirely if he doesn't speak with you immediately. Emma and Ryan stared at each other, the weight of the moment settling between them like a challenge. This is it, Emma said quietly. Your impossible choice happening right now. Ryan looked at the intercom, then back at Emma. For a heartbeat, she thought he might choose the call, might slide back into the safe world of business decisions and calculated risks. Instead, he pulled her into his arms and kissed her. It was nothing like their careful public kisses for photographers. This was desperate and real, and full of everything he couldn't say. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Ryan pressed his forehead against hers. Margaret, he said, his voice rough, tell Morrison I'll call him tomorrow and cancel all my meetings for the rest of the weekend. Sir, are you sure? He seemed quite insistent. I'm sure. Ryan's eyes never left Emma's face. Some things are more important than business deals. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. Ryan, I love you, he said simply. I probably loved you from the moment you made up that ridiculous phone call in the elevator. And if choosing you means I have to rebuild my entire company from scratch, then that's what I'll do. You love me? Terrifyingly, completely, irrationally in love with you. Ryan's smile was soft and slightly amazed. Is that... okay? Emma answered by kissing him again, pouring 3 weeks of uncertainty and hope and growing feelings into the contact. When they finally broke apart, she was laughing and crying at the same time. I love you too, she whispered, even though you're crazy enough to blow off billion-dollar deals for me. Especially because I'm crazy enough to blow off billion-dollar deals for you. Margaret's voice came through the intercom again, sounding slightly amused. Mr. Sterling, should I assume you'll be taking Monday off as well? No, Ryan said, his arm still around Emma. Monday, we're going to Morrison's office together. Emma's going to help me negotiate the deal of a lifetime. Together? Emma pulled back to look at him. Ryan, I don't know anything about corporate acquisitions. No, but you know about people. You know how to read them, how to connect with them, how to make them trust you. Ryan's grin was pure confidence. Besides, if they want to meet my fiancé, they should meet all of her, including the brilliant marketing mind that's about to help me save this deal. This is either the most romantic gesture ever or the biggest mistake of your career. With you, Ryan said, spinning her around his office. I'm hoping they're the same thing. As the sun set over Manhattan, painting Ryan's office in golden light, Emma realized that sometimes the scariest leaps were the ones most worth taking. She was about to dive headfirst into Ryan's world, board meetings, corporate intrigue, society galas and all. But she was diving in as herself, with a man who loved her enough to risk everything he'd built for the chance at something real. Monday morning was going to be interesting. Manhattan, Monday morning, Morrison Industries headquarters. Emma had faced down difficult clients, demanding bosses, and her mother's disappointment about leaving Nebraska. But walking into Morrison Industries' boardroom at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning, wearing a Chanel suit that cost more than her car, and carrying the weight of a $10 billion deal on her shoulders, was an entirely different level of terrifying. "Breathe," Ryan murmured as they approached the conference room doors. "You've got this." "Easy for you to say. You've been doing billion-dollar deals since before I graduated college." Emma smoothed her skirt for the 100th time. "What if I say something wrong? What if I accidentally torpedo your company's biggest acquisition?" Ryan stopped walking and turned to face her fully. "Emma, do you remember what you told me in the elevator 3 weeks ago? When you convinced an entire group of people that we were engaged with 30 seconds of pure improvisation? That was different. That was desperation. No, that was brilliance under pressure. That was you seeing an impossible situation and finding a way through it." Ryan's hands settled on her shoulders. "That's exactly what we need in this room." Before Emma could respond, the conference room doors opened, revealing Margaret Chen with her ever-present tablet and professional smile. "Mr. Sterling, Ms. Brooks, Morrison's team is ready for you," Margaret said. "Fair warning, they've brought their full board, plus legal counsel, plus what appears to be a small army of analysts." "Of course they have," Ryan said grimly. "How many people are we looking at?" 15 on their side. I've set up places for you, Ms. Brooks, our legal team, and the Sterling Financial senior staff." Emma's stomach dropped. 15 people? I thought this was just a meeting. "In corporate acquisition terms, this is practically an intimate dinner party," Ryan said with a wry smile. "Ready to make history?" The Morrison Industries boardroom was exactly what Emma expected from a Fortune 500 company. Imposing mahogany table, leather chairs that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Wall Street. But what struck her most was the energy in the room. Tense, predatory, like everyone was waiting for someone to make the first mistake. At the head of the table sat James Morrison, CEO of Morrison Industries, and, according to the business magazines, one of the most ruthless negotiators on the East Coast. Silver-haired, sharp-eyed, wearing a suit that screamed power and money. Around him sat his board of directors, all looking like they'd stepped out of central casting for intimidating corporate executives. "Ryan," Morrison stood as they entered, his smile polite but cold. "Good to see you again." "James." Ryan's handshake was firm, confident. "Thank you for making time for this meeting. And this must be the famous Fiancé we've been reading about." Morrison's attention shifted to Emma, his assessment obvious and uncomfortable. "Emma Brooks, isn't it?" "Yes, sir." Emma stepped forward, extending her hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Morrison." "The pleasure is mine. Though I have to admit, I'm curious why Ryan brought his personal life to a business meeting." Before Ryan could respond, Emma smiled brightly. "Actually, Mr. Morrison, I asked to be here. As someone who works in marketing, I'm fascinated by corporate strategy, especially acquisitions of this magnitude. I hope you don't mind if I observe." Something shifted in Morrison's expression. Surprise, maybe even approval. "Not at all. Please have a seat." As they settled around the table, Emma caught Ryan's eye. He looked impressed, and maybe a little relieved. Step 1. Establish her legitimacy without appearing threatening. "Before we begin," Morrison said, "I want to address the elephant in the room. Recent media attention has raised questions about Sterling Financial's focus and stability. My board has concerns about leadership distraction during such a critical acquisition." Richard Hawthorne, sitting 2 chairs down from Ryan, leaned forward with barely concealed satisfaction. "As I mentioned in our previous conversations, James, the timing of this engagement announcement raises certain questions about motives and priorities." Emma felt Ryan tense beside her, but she placed a subtle hand on his arm, a signal to let her handle this. "Mr. Hawthorne," Emma said pleasantly, "I'm curious about something. In your experience, do you find that happy, fulfilled executives perform better or worse than isolated, Work-obsessed ones? Hawthorne blinked, clearly not expecting the question. Well, that's not really the issue here. Isn't it? Emma turned to address the room. I work in marketing, so I'm always thinking about brand perception and consumer psychology. When I research successful long-term companies, there's actually a strong correlation between leadership stability, both personal and professional, and sustained growth. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to notes she'd prepared during the weekend. For example, Warren Buffett has been married for over 50 years. Jeff Bezos built Amazon while married. Even Steve Jobs, known for his work obsession, credited his family as his foundation. Morrison was listening intently now. Go on. The narrative that successful CEOs must choose between personal happiness and professional excellence is actually counterproductive from a brand perspective. Investors, employees, and partners want leaders who demonstrate good judgment in all areas of life. Emma met Morrison's eyes. A CEO who can build both a successful company and a healthy relationship suggests someone with exceptional organizational skills, emotional intelligence, and long-term thinking. Interesting perspective, one of Morrison's board members said. And you believe Ryan demonstrates these qualities? Emma's smile was genuine. Mr. Morrison, 3 weeks ago, I was just another marketing executive trying to avoid an awkward conversation in an elevator. Today, I'm sitting in this room because the man I love saw potential in me that I didn't even see in myself. If Ryan Sterling can identify and develop untapped potential in his personal life, imagine what he can do with Morrison Industries' assets. The room was silent. Emma could feel Ryan's surprise and pride radiating beside her. Even Hawthorne looked grudgingly impressed. Morrison leaned back in his chair. Ms. Brooks, that's either the most sophisticated bit of manipulation I've heard in years, or you genuinely believe what you're saying. I genuinely believe what I'm saying, sir. But I'm also good at my job. Emma's grin was self-deprecating. Marketing is about finding authentic stories that resonate with your audience. This isn't manipulation. It's truth presented persuasively. And what's the truth about your relationship with Ryan? Emma glanced at Ryan, who nodded almost imperceptibly. Permission to be completely honest. The truth is that 3 weeks ago, I lied about being engaged to escape an uncomfortable situation. Ryan could have embarrassed me publicly, but instead he played along. Over the past 3 weeks, that lie became the most real thing in my life. Emma's voice softened. The truth is that I love a man who builds billion-dollar companies and still remembers to ask how my day was. Who can negotiate with world leaders and also hide behind hot dog carts to avoid paparazzi? Who chose to miss your phone call yesterday because he thought having an honest conversation with me was more important than managing a business crisis? Morrison's eyebrows rose. He missed my call? He did, Emma said firmly. And before you see that as a red flag, consider this. A CEO confident enough in his abilities to prioritize relationship honesty over crisis management is exactly the kind of leader you want handling your company's future. The room was dead silent. Emma could hear her own heartbeat. Then Morrison started laughing. Ms. Brooks, he said, that was either the most brilliant piece of negotiation I've ever witnessed, or you've just convinced me that Ryan Sterling is even better at identifying talent than I thought. Both can be true, Emma said with a smile. Morrison turned to Ryan. You've been quiet through all this. Emma's been handling things perfectly, Ryan said. I'm just here for moral support at this point. Is that your management style? Identify talented people and let them shine? It's my lifestyle, Ryan replied. In business and personally, I hire the best people I can find, give them the resources they need, and get out of their way. Emma just demonstrated why that approach works. Morrison nodded slowly. Hawthorne, do you still have concerns about leadership distraction? Hawthorne's face was a mask of professional courtesy, barely concealing frustration. I still believe that, because from where I'm sitting, Morrison interrupted. I just watched Ryan Sterling's fiancé deliver a more compelling presentation about his leadership capabilities than our entire due diligence team managed in 6 months. Emma felt a surge of triumph but kept her expression neutral. Never celebrate until the deal is actually closed. There is one more thing, Morrison said, his tone becoming more serious. The Sterling Foundation Gala this weekend. I understand it's a significant event. One of the largest charity fundraisers on the East Coast, Ryan confirmed. We're expecting to raise over $50 million for education and healthcare initiatives. I'd like to attend, as your guest. Morrison's smile was calculating. If we're going to be partners, I want to see how Sterling Financial handles high-profile public events, and I'm curious to see Ms. Brooks in action in your social environment. Emma's stomach flipped. The gala had seemed daunting enough when it was just about meeting Ryan's family. Now it was a test of her ability to represent Sterling Financial to their biggest potential partner. Of course, Ryan said smoothly. We'd be honored to have you there. Excellent. Morrison stood, extending his hand. Ryan, pending final contract negotiations, Morrison Industries is prepared to move forward with this acquisition. Your legal team can coordinate with ours this week. As handshakes and congratulations were exchanged around the room, Emma felt a surreal sense of accomplishment. She'd walked into this meeting as Ryan's girlfriend and somehow ended up as an unofficial Sterling Financial representative. Ms. Brooks, Morrison said as they prepared to leave, I hope you'll consider joining Ryan's business permanently. You have a natural talent for this. Thank you, sir. That's very kind. I'm not kind, Morrison said with a grin. I'm practical. And you're exactly the kind of asset Sterling Financial needs more of. Sterling Financial Tower, Ryan's office, 2 hours later. I can't believe that worked, Emma said, collapsing into one of Ryan's office chairs. I can't believe I just helped negotiate a $10 billion deal. You didn't help negotiate it, Ryan said, loosening his tie with a grin. You single-handedly saved it. Emma, that was incredible. I was terrified the entire time. You were brilliant the entire time. Ryan pulled her up from the chair, spinning her around his office. Do you realize what you just did? You turned a hostile board meeting into a referendum on our relationship, then used our relationship to demonstrate my leadership capabilities. That was pure genius. It was pure desperation disguised as strategy. It was marketing brilliance applied to corporate negotiation. Ryan set her down, his hands framing her face. Emma, Morrison was right. You should consider joining Sterling Financial permanently. Emma laughed. As what, your personal relationship advocate? As Chief Marketing Officer, or VP of Strategic Communications, or hell, we'll create a new position just for you. Ryan's excitement was infectious. Emma, what you did in there, reading the room, identifying what each person needed to hear, turning our personal story into a business asset, that's exactly what Sterling Financial needs. Ryan, I already have a job. A job where your boss only values you because of your connection to me. A job that doesn't begin to use your actual talents. Ryan's voice became more serious. Emma, I watched you command that boardroom like you were born for it. You belong in this world. Emma walked to the windows looking out over the city. A few weeks ago, she'd been just another face in the crowd down there. Now she was standing in one of Manhattan's most powerful offices, being offered a position at one of the country's most successful companies. What about the conflict of interest? She asked. Dating the CEO while working for his company? We'll figure it out. Proper disclosure, board approval, whatever we need to do. Ryan joined her at the window. Emma, I'm not asking you to be my employee. I'm asking you to be my partner, in business and in life. Is that a proposal? Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. Emma's breath caught. Ryan, 3 weeks ago, you lied about being my fiancé, he said, dropping to one knee in front of the Manhattan skyline. Today, you saved my company's biggest deal and convinced me that I want you as my actual business partner. Emma Brooks, will you marry me? For real this time? Emma stared at the ring, a stunning solitaire that caught the afternoon light like captured starlight. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Ryan, We've known each other for 3 weeks. I've known you for 3 weeks. I've been waiting for you my entire life." Ryan's voice was steady, certain. "Emma, when I was building this company, I told myself that love was a luxury I couldn't afford. That relationships were distractions from success. But these 3 weeks have shown me that everything I built means nothing without someone to share it with." Emma looked around Ryan's office. The awards, the photographs with world leaders, the view of a city he'd conquered through sheer determination and brilliance. Then she looked at the man kneeling in front of her, offering her not just his heart, but his entire world. "What about your family? Your parents, your sister? Megan's going to love you. My parents will learn to love you. And if they don't, that's their loss." Ryan's smile was soft. "Emma, I spent so many years trying to be the son they wanted that I forgot to be the man I wanted to be. You make me want to be better than either. And the board? Hawthorne isn't going to just disappear. Hawthorne can try to oppose me. But after today, after watching you handle Morrison's entire team like a master negotiator, I think the board is going to be very interested in keeping you around." Ryan's grin was confident. "Besides, we just closed the biggest deal in company history. My position has never been stronger." Emma was quiet for a long moment, weighing everything that had brought them to this point. The elevator lie that started it all, the coffee shop confrontation that almost ended it, the society dinners and corporate crises and media attention that had tested them, and through it all, the growing certainty that Ryan Sterling wasn't just a billionaire CEO. He was the man who made her feel brave enough to be herself in any room, no matter how intimidating. "Emma," Ryan's voice was soft, vulnerable. "I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But crazy seems to work for us." "It does work for us, doesn't it?" Emma laughed, feeling tears prick her eyes. "Ryan Sterling, 3 weeks ago, I was a marketing executive from Nebraska trying to avoid an awkward conversation. Today, I'm being proposed to by Manhattan's most eligible bachelor in his corner office overlooking the city. Is that a yes? That's a, this is insane and I love you and yes, I'll marry you. But we're having a long engagement because I'm not ready to plan a society wedding while learning how to be a corporate executive." And Ryan slipped the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit naturally, and stood to kiss her. "We'll have the longest engagement in New York history, if that's what you want." "What I want," Emma said against his lips, "is to figure out how to be Emma Brooks Sterling without losing Emma Brooks from Nebraska." "What I want," Ryan replied, "is to be the kind of man who deserves both versions of you." Margaret's voice came through the intercom, sounding amused. "Mr. Sterling, I hate to interrupt, but there are photographers gathering outside the building. Word seems to have leaked about the Morrison meeting results." Emma and Ryan looked at each other, then burst out laughing. "Ready for your first press conference as my fiancé?" Ryan asked. "Ready for your first press conference with a partner who's going to steal the spotlight?" "Ms. Brooks," Ryan said formally, offering her his arm. "Shall we go make some headlines?" "Mr. Sterling," Emma replied, taking his arm with a grin. "Let's go show New York what a real power couple looks like." Sterling Foundation Gala, the Plaza Hotel, Saturday evening. The Sterling Foundation Gala was everything Emma had imagined and more. The Plaza's grand ballroom had been transformed into a winter wonderland, with crystal chandeliers casting dancing light over hundreds of Manhattan's most influential people. Senators mingled with CEOs, celebrities posed with philanthropists, and everyone seemed to glow with the particular confidence that came from having more money than most small countries. Emma stood at Ryan's side, wearing a midnight blue Valentino gown that made her feel like royalty, watching him work the room with the ease of someone born to this world. But what struck her most was how different he seemed from the controlled CEO she'd met in the elevator. He was relaxed, genuinely happy, introducing her to everyone not as an accessory, but as his partner. "Emma, I'd like you to meet Senator Richardson," Ryan said, guiding her toward a distinguished woman in elegant black. "Senator, this is my fiancée, Emma Brooks. Ms. Brooks, congratulations on your engagement." Ryan's told me you were instrumental in the Morrison acquisition. Thank you, Senator. Though I think Ryan's being generous, I just asked the right questions at the right time. Modesty is refreshing in this crowd, the senator laughed. What's your background, if you don't mind me asking? Marketing, originally from Nebraska. I moved to New York for graduate school and never left. Emma smiled. Though after this week, I'm starting to think New York has much bigger plans for me than I originally imagined. Nebraska? How wonderful. I'm from Iowa originally. There's something to be said for Midwest values in East Coast business. As the senator moved on, Ryan leaned close to Emma's ear. See? You're a natural at this. I'm still terrified I'm going to accidentally insult someone important. Impossible. You're the most genuine person in this room and everyone can sense it. Ryan's hand found hers, his thumb tracing over her engagement ring. Besides, after watching you handle Morrison's board, I'm pretty sure you could negotiate world peace if someone asked nicely. Before Emma could respond, a familiar voice cut through the elegant chatter. Well, well, if it isn't the happy couple. They turned to find James Morrison approaching, looking distinguished in a classic tuxedo, champagne glass in hand, and an expression of amused approval on his face. James, Ryan said warmly, I'm so glad you could make it. Wouldn't have missed it. Ms. Brooks, you look stunning. Morrison's smile was genuine. I have to say, watching you two work together this week has been fascinating. Work together? Emma asked. Oh yes, Ryan didn't tell you. The final contract negotiations included a provision for Sterling Financial to create a new strategic communications division. Apparently someone was very impressed with your performance in our boardroom. Emma looked at Ryan, who was trying and failing to look innocent. Ryan Sterling, what did you do? I may have suggested that our partnership would be even more valuable if you had an official role in the company. And Morrison Industries may have agreed that any company smart enough to put Emma Brooks in a leadership position was exactly the kind of forward-thinking organization we wanted to partner with. Morrison added with a grin, You created a job for me? I created an opportunity for you, Ryan corrected. The job is yours if you want it. But only if you want it. Emma felt that familiar flutter of panic and excitement that seemed to accompany every major decision in her relationship with Ryan. What exactly would strategic communications involve? Corporate messaging, partnership negotiations, public relations, event management, Morrison said. Essentially, you'd be Sterling Financial's public face for major initiatives. Your own team, your own budget, full creative control. And if it doesn't work out, if I'm terrible at it, then we'll figure something else out, Ryan said simply. Emma, you could set the entire building on fire and I'd still want to wake up next to you every morning. That's either really romantic or a serious safety concern. Both, Ryan grinned. So, what do you say? Before Emma could answer, the ballroom lights dimmed and a spotlight illuminated the stage. Ryan squeezed her hand. Time for my speech. Think about it? Go, Emma said, pushing him gently toward the stage. Make them fall in love with your foundation, the way you made me fall in love with you. Ryan's speech was everything Emma expected. Passionate about education and healthcare, specific about the foundation's impact, charming enough to open checkbooks. But what surprised her was how often his eyes found hers in the crowd, how his smile became more genuine whenever he looked at her. The Sterling Foundation exists because I believe in investing in potential, Ryan said, his voice carrying easily through the ballroom. Sometimes that potential is obvious. A brilliant student who just needs scholarship money, a researcher on the verge of a medical breakthrough. But sometimes the most valuable investments are the ones that seem impossible at first. His eyes locked on Emma's. 3 weeks ago, I met someone who taught me that the best partnerships aren't always the most logical ones. Sometimes the most successful collaborations come from taking risks on people who challenge you to be better than you thought possible. Emma felt tears prick her eyes as the room erupted in applause. Tonight, we're not just raising money for worthy causes, Ryan continued. We're investing in the belief that when you find something, or someone, worth fighting for, you don't let practical concerns stop you from building something extraordinary. As Ryan concluded his speech and the crowd surged toward the donation stations, Emma felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to find an elegant woman with Ryan's blue eyes and a warm smile. "You must be Emma. I'm Megan, Ryan's sister. Dr. Sterling, Ryan's told me so much about you. All good things, I hope." Megan's assessment was friendly but thorough. "I have to say, you've caused quite a stir in the Sterling family." "Good stir or bad stir?" "Definitely good. I haven't seen Ryan this happy since, well, ever actually." Megan's smile became more genuine. "He's been wound so tight for so many years, I was starting to worry he'd forgotten how to be human. But watching him tonight, watching the way he looks at you, this is the brother I remember from before business school turned him into a robot." "He's not a robot. He's just been focused. Focused is one word for it. Obsessed is another." Megan sipped her champagne. "Emma, can I ask you something? What are your intentions with my brother?" Emma laughed, surprised by the directness. "Your brother just proposed to me in his office overlooking Manhattan after I helped him close a $10 billion deal. I think the question is what his intentions are with me." "Fair point. And what did you tell him?" "I told him yes, but that we're having a long engagement because I need time to figure out how to be Emma Brooks Sterling without losing Emma Brooks from Nebraska." Megan's smile was radiant. "Perfect answer. You know, my parents are terrified of you. They haven't even met me yet." "Exactly. They've spent years trying to set Ryan up with appropriate society daughters, and he's never shown interest in any of them. Then you appear out of nowhere, and suddenly he's missing board calls and creating new corporate divisions." Megan laughed. "They don't know whether to be grateful or horrified." "What do you think?" "I think you're exactly what Ryan needed, whether he knew it or not." Megan's expression became more serious. "But Emma, this world, our world, it can be brutal. People are going to question your motives, your background, your right to be here. Are you prepared for that?" Emma thought about Richard Hawthorne's sneering assessment in the coffee shop, Morrison's initial skepticism, the photographers waiting outside every restaurant. "I'm getting used to it." "Good. Because Ryan's going to need someone strong enough to stand beside him, not behind him." Megan raised her champagne glass. "Welcome to the family, Emma Brooks. Try not to let us corrupt you too much." As Megan disappeared back into the crowd, Emma felt Ryan's arms slide around her waist from behind. "My sister likes you," he murmured in her ear. "How can you tell?" "She didn't interrogate you about your financial history or suggest a prenup." Ryan's laugh was warm against her neck. "For Megan, that's practically a ringing endorsement." "And your parents are watching us from across the room, trying to decide whether to approach or pretend they don't know you exist." Emma turned in his arms to see an elegant couple near the bar, the woman in understated pearls and the man in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, both watching Emma and Ryan with expressions of polite uncertainty. "Should I go introduce myself?" "Not unless you want to. They'll come over eventually. Curiosity will win out over caution." Ryan's hand settled on her waist. "Emma, about the job offer. You mean the job offer you orchestrated without consulting me?" "The job offer I created because I believe in your abilities and want to work with you every day." Ryan's voice became more serious. "But only if that's what you want. If you prefer to keep your personal and professional lives separate, I understand." Emma studied his face in the ballroom's elegant lighting. "Ryan, 3 weeks ago, if someone had told me I'd be engaged to a billionaire and considering a corporate executive position, I'd have suggested therapy. And now? Now I'm thinking that maybe the best adventures are the ones you never see coming." Emma smiled up at him. "Yes. Yes to what? Yes to the job. Yes to being your business partner. Yes to figuring out how to build something extraordinary together." Emma's grin was mischievous. "But I want my own office, my own parking space, and a budget big enough to make Richard Hawthorne nervous. Done, and absolutely." Ryan spun her around the dance floor as the orchestra played. Emma Brooks, soon to be Emma Brooks Sterling, you are going to revolutionize Sterling Financial. We are going to revolutionize Sterling Financial, Emma corrected. This is a partnership, remember? How could I forget? Ryan dipped her dramatically, causing several nearby couples to stop and stare. You remind me every time I start thinking like a CEO instead of like your fiancé. As the music swelled and Ryan pulled her back into his arms, Emma caught sight of their reflection in the ballroom's mirrored walls. They looked like they belonged here, elegant, confident, perfectly matched. But more than that, they looked happy. 3 weeks ago, Emma Brooks had been a marketing executive from Nebraska trying to avoid an awkward elevator conversation. Tonight, she was dancing at Manhattan's most exclusive charity gala with the man she loved, preparing to start a new career and a new life that would have seemed impossible just days earlier. No regrets? Ryan asked softly, as if reading her thoughts. Emma thought about Tommy Richardson and his cornbread, about her parents' disappointment, about the safe, predictable life she'd walked away from. Then she looked into Ryan's eyes and saw their future. Challenging, unpredictable, extraordinary. Just one, she said. Ryan's face fell slightly. What? I regret waiting so long to take risks. Emma's smile was radiant. I regret playing it safe for so many years when I could have been living like this. Living like what? Like I'm worthy of fairy tales. Ryan kissed her then, right there on the dance floor in front of 500 of Manhattan's most influential people. And Emma realized that sometimes the best lies were the ones that became truth. She'd lied about being engaged to Ryan Sterling in an elevator. Now, dancing in his arms while wearing his ring and planning their future together, it was the most honest thing she'd ever done. I love you, Emma Brooks, Ryan whispered against her lips. I love you too, Ryan Sterling, she whispered back. Now let's go build an empire. As the orchestra played and the city glittered beyond the plaza's windows, Emma Brooks and Ryan Sterling danced toward a future that was part fairy tale, part corporate thriller, and completely, impossibly real. The end.